And we're live.
Live!
Welcome back to another episode of, what's this thing called?
Shoot the Shetty.
Shoot the Shetty. Whoever came up with that name is an idiot.
You did.
He's a genius.
Well, it's going to be back on. I'm sure everyone was wondering what happened to us.
Well, I took a position with the Trump administration, but they got fired, so I'm back.
There's the politics. Mm-hmm. This is turning political. 40 seconds in. Hail Trump.
By the way, what do you think about the Iran deal?
What's Iran?
All right, let's get back on topic.
No, let's continue down this path.
All right, I'm going to.
What's the topic today, Sean?
The topic would be the careers of comedy stars, right?
Forgotten heroes.
Forgotten heroes. It's an interesting topic.
It keeps me up at night.
Mm-hmm.
So, you want to tell the Mike Myers story now?
Why don't you introduce?
Well, I was talking to Sean about 2 hours ago, and we were talking about something, and Sean was like, "Hey, I got a Mike Myers story for you," and then I was like, "Save it for the podcast." So, that's the setup. Was there more setup?
Dude, this is the worst. Let's start this over.
No, it's too late. I'm time to start over.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go from the beginning because in my opinion, comedy, I feel like you have to keep changing. You have to keep morphing into something else to have longevity. And who comes to mind is either you're just faded out because there are so many people that I grew up with who are comedians who just have disappeared off the map. Like I don't know, like Ellen Cleghorn, for example. Not to keep rehashing Saturday Night Live, 1992. But the others like Conan O'Brien, who's been on the air forever, and even though they just changed the show to a weekly format or a half-hour format, he's doing more digital stuff. So I feel like you always have to just keep evolving as a comedian.
Well, there are several high-caliber comedic stars who have not done that, but still rake in millions. Adam Sandler.
He's evolved.
Mm.
I'm not yet. He's not. He hasn't. I mean, I kind of wish. Actually, he kind of has evolved. He does more. I mean, I wish he did more Billy Madison, Happy Madison movies, Happy Gilmore movies.
It's true. If you look back at those movies, they have a pretty good story structure, act structure, and he creates characters that are dumb but lovable. I can't remember.
Wait. Dumb? Billy Madison went from kindergarten to high school in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It was an academic decathlon.
All right, sorry, it's not dumb.
You're right. Okay.
He's extremely dumb.
But you're saying that before they used to have good story structure, and now it's completely nil.
What was just to name the last Adam Sandler comedy you watched?
That's My Boy. No, comedy. I mean, the last Sandler movie I watched was the Meyerowitz stories.
Not drama. So I'm talking about comedy.
That was a comedy. I laughed at that.
You didn't.
I laughed out loud.
That's because
No. The last comedy was what was the comedy he made right before the Meyerowitz stories?
That agent where he played the agent.
Yeah, I watched that one.
You don't even remember the name.
It was Sandy Wexler, and then I don't remember. I'm trying to think of the name of the cowboy one that I watched. I can't remember the name of that one.
Yeah,
the stupid 8, whatever it was.
yeah, he's really just coasting on.
Wait, did you see? Wait, did you see Sandy Wexler?
Did I see it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What'd you think of it?
it's horrible.
What? Hmm. Disagree with you. I think Sandy Wexler was a great movie.
No.
Did you see the scene? Remember the scene when like he keeps re-recording, like he's trying to make like a demo tape. All right, we can agree to disagree.
Wait.
Did you quit the podcast?
I did. I'm on the verge. Let's see. On Rotten Tomatoes, Sandy Wexler has an approval rating of 29%. Should we read?
Don't follow the masses. Be your own man. Wait, what about the what's the cowboy movie called?
I don't know. Silly Seven.
What did you say?
Silly Seven.
Silly 7. Okay, I'll give you that. So maybe because some movies are horrible. I mean, I've seen some atrocious Sandler movies too.
Hmm?
So I agree with you. I mean, there are some pretty bad movies that he's made. I'm like, what did I just watch?
Let's see. One reviewer said, "There's no way to recommend it. Yet I wouldn't ask for my 2 hours back."
So what, Sandy Wexler? I was so excited for that movie too.
Sandler's third Netflix comedy arrives as something of a mission statement, finding a loose moral justification for all of his bad movies.
Screw it. I like Sandy Wexler. So the thing is, okay, I pretty much like all Sandler movies. My Alexa's talking. Here's why. Because you have to go into a Sandler movie with an open mind. Like you know what you're getting. It's like
There's
walking.
like it.
Dude, it's like walking the Dunkin' Donuts. You know you're gonna get Dunkin' Donuts. Is that a good analogy?
No, it's not.
I mean, am I biased? Yeah. But I mean, I do have a joy watching an Adam Sandler movie versus.
If you had not heard of Adam Sandler and this was the first movie you watched of his, you would not like it. You're only doing it sense of nostalgia. And
yeah, probably.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
It doesn't mean it means you can like it. Doesn't mean it's actually good.
But who's to say what's good to one person, what's good to another person?
What do you mean? There's a standard for movies.
There's no standard. Everyone has a personal standard. Okay. Everyone has a personal.
Sharknado 2 is the same as Saving Private Ryan.
For some people, Sharknado might be just as enjoyable watching Sharknado versus some people might hate Saving Private Ryan and they might enjoy Sharknado. I mean, it's like personal taste, right?
This is the worst podcast.
Nah, okay, look, you can totally say you hate Adam Sandler, but
I didn't say
when we do
Adam Sandler.
When we meet Adam Sandler, guess who gets to ride on the boat with Sandler? Tarun.
Let's back to Trump. People who
can I tell the Sandler story real quick?
Say bad things about Trump, but
wait, can I tell the Sandler story real quick? Mm-hmm. So Adam Sandler's always been a hero of mine, and I used to perform at this comedy place in Westwood called the Westwood Brewing Company, and his nephew used to do stand up there. And one time I went there, there's no audience. I look in the room, and it's like Kevin James, like Nick Swartzen, and like Sandler or something, just watching in the back. And then Sandler came out, and I was like, "I'm from New Hampshire," because he's from New Hampshire. And he's like, "You ever been to Hampton Beach?" And I was like, "Yes." I don't think I have. And he's like, "Oh, awesome." And hey, you. And I walked away. And I was like, "Wow." The end. That's what inspired Sandy Wexler.
Are you on drugs?
Dude, I've been walking dogs. I'll tell you today, my brain is fried.
I think you should reschedule this podcast.
No, it's too late. 10 minutes in.
We're-
So getting back on track here. So you're saying that 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 story structure, people can forget about that, comedians can forget about that, and that they kind of just let things go after certain modicum of success. Correct, John?
Yeah.
Um, I think he's generally trying to sustain a career. I mean, there's so much money. I mean, he's the guy has a production company where he supports a staff of people. He's not going to just, you know, throw shit into the wind.
Right, and you can make a product that appeals to the lowest common denominator, and as long as you know it's going to sell a certain amount, but and plus it's on the Netflix model, so he already has the money. He doesn't really have to have a high standard of return.
Well, I wonder, do you think those movies are even doing well? I mean, Netflix doesn't share their numbers.
No, they don't, and it doesn't matter. Like you, there's millions of people like you who just want to watch an Adam Sandler movie and don't care about the quality.
Yeah, although I haven't watched the new one, the recent movie. I don't know how diehard I am.
And you call yourself, well, you watched all the other ones.
Yeah, I gotta watch the latest one. I mean, I love. Again, it's right. Yeah, it's sentimentality. I want to reconnect with those guys, and I feel like I have friends. when I watch Netflix,
Watch a movie to feel like you have friends.
Sometimes.
Wow, that's the topic.
Well,
podcast.
Okay. Well, anyways, let's go back even before Sandler, because you know who I was upset, who I really liked, who I was watching everything of his for a bit, was Groucho Marx. So when he made what is it, Animal Crackers, that movie, back the Marx Brothers made these bunch of movies. Here's a synopsis for people who, I'm sure people know this. So Groucho Marx was one of the biggest comedy stars ever, and then he kind of faded away, and then he came back and hosted a game show, and then that kind of, brought Groucho back into the public eye again. And that's just a classic example of how comedians have to just keep reinventing themselves. They feel like, I don't know why, with comedy, I think, again, I could be wrong, I'm just in my opinion, with these dramatic actors, they can just be themselves and have great long careers doing drama and stuff. But comedy, man, it's like the zeitgeist of the times. People get sick of shit and they just go on to the next guy. Like, who was hot when we were coming up? Like, who were like the hot comedians?
You mean comedic actors or comedians?
In general, like comedians. Like now it's like Chappelle, right? That's the hottest guy. I don't know. Is that the hottest dude right now? The hot guy on the scene, Chappelle.
He's not even.
Like, who's the hottest guy right now? I don't even.
You mean actor or comedian?
Comedian.
Harry Connick.
I don't know, Chris D'Elia or somebody, or Amy Schumer, I guess, would be a good example. I guess 12 months ago it was Louis C.K. Or growing up, it was, for me, it was like George Carlin was on the scene, or Bill Cosby. Like there was always like a guy who was putting out, whoever had like the HBO special of the month. Dane Cook was another guy who was just really hot. But then the public just gets so fickle with comedians, and they go on to the next dude. And that's something which is kind of frightening to see, because I've seen a lot of carnage at these comedy clubs of people who used to be famous. And it's like, oh my God, like now they're in these, good comedy rooms, but they're nowhere near where they used to be.
Well, I mean, it all depends on their act and their personal qualities. I mean, you look at Tim Allen. He was a huge star in the 80s. Then in the 90s, he had a huge sitcom. And then, you can only sustain it for so long. He had a okay run in movies. He started one of the best sci-fi comedies, Galaxy Quest. And
Toy Story?
Toy Story, yeah. So he's had a long, long career.
Actually, honestly, Tim Allen, I think he just finished I think he might still be on Last Man Standing. It's a network TV show.
Well, it was
now,
canceled, but now that Roseanne did so well, they're bringing it back.
Are they really bringing it back?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! But I mean, okay, he's on a show, but again, he's not Tim Allen, and that has a lot to do with just the oversaturation of just shows on cable right now. Like he's not. When we were growing up, it was like, oh my god, Tim Allen, Home Improvement. Was it Thursday nights? That ABC show, ABC night.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, it was a big deal. And nowadays, it's hard to get to that status and then sustain it.
Yeah, but actually, it's a little bit easier now because you have so many different social media ways of staying in touch.
What do you think of Donald Glover?
He's hilarious. He's an amazing comedic actor. I haven't actually seen his new show, Atlanta, but he was amazing on Community.
I don't know too much about him, but I do, just from reading the trades and stuff, I see this guy is a dude just multi-talented, from comedy, serious acting, and I guess he's a musician, he's a rapper or something. People are like, I see his video, people are just reposting that video he has. I know nothing about him, by the way. But
he started off as a writer at 30 Rock, actually.
Oh wow, I think he was a NYU student, right, back in the day.
Maybe, yeah.
But is that what it takes to be a comedian? You got to do like, pull like a Ben Stiller and just have a 360 skill set?
No, that's just him.
Yeah, I'm just saying because like he's a guy who was sustained pretty well, and he's like gone to like these different markets and it's kind of grown.
Not only now he's blowing up musically, and actually this is his time. He just created this music video that encapsulates what's happening in Black America, in America in general, and now he's starring as one of the coolest space people in the universe, Lando Calrissian.
Yeah.
Star Wars movie. So it's been a long build-up, probably for like 10, 12 years.
So minus Sandler, is there anybody else who has been able to sustain their popularity or just have a career? Because from the examples we've talked about, like Donald Glover, Conan O'Brien, Groucho Marx, these guys have always evolved in some form or another iteration where they can use their comedy. Is there anybody else who's been able to just kind of hold on strictly in comedy? Or maybe you morphed into something else?
You look at Tom Hanks. He was a comedic actor, only starting comedies and switched it around.
Yeah. I think writers have been able to do that. Maybe because it's more forgiving. Maybe you always need good ideas. But there's a lot of shows and just guys who are just constantly working behind the scenes. I don't know. It's an interesting topic, and I'm only. I remember you asked me what I want to talk about, and I mentioned that because that is in the back of my mind sometimes. Because again, I just see there's this guy. There's this guy in his name's Argus Hamilton, and he's this comedian who's at the Comedy Store, and he's really funny, really great guy. And I really respect him because this guy was on the Tonight Show back in like the 80s, and he's still getting prime spots at the Comedy Store, performing for these young audiences, sold out shows at on a Saturday night. And that's hard to do. That's really hard to do. In fact, one time showed up there, and the guy was like, "Oh, we can't book you anymore." And I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Well, we need fresh blood." Meaning I was just too old. They wanted like a younger thing. Luckily, I had like a great set that night, and he was like, "Don't worry about it." But I almost got cycled out, and I'm not even 40 years old. So like this ageism thing in comedy is extremely scary.
But isn't there another? How old's Chris D'Elia? Isn't he like in early 40s?
D'Elia, he's like late 30s. Yeah, but yeah, you know what? There's no guarantee. Even D'Elia might phase out in a few years. That could very well happen. It's really about. Really, the audience dictates, right? how hot you are and how long you're going to stay. Because once they're tired of you, they're not going to watch your videos, and it's all like metrics, and people can track that, and people don't watch your shows, and then on to the next guy.
Yeah, because entertainment is commodity.
Show business.
I mean, just look at Dane Cook. He was huge in the early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Yeah, Dane Cook. I feel like Dane Cook. I don't know Dane Cook at all. I've only seen him at the gym, and I've just seen him perform. But I feel like from what I've heard, he's burned a lot of bridges. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But like there was a time in LA where there were just like these comedy camps. Like there was like the Apatow camp, there was like the Sandler crew, there was the Seth Rogen thing. So one of my friends was telling me that you have to be accepted in one of these groups because these guys will just keep putting you in their shit and just keep giving you exposure. If you're not, then you're like odd man out. And so I've heard Dane wasn't in any of those guys' crews. So when his acting career kind of fizzled out, like there was nobody pushing him, right? Nobody like kind of throwing a hand or throwing a life raft. So it's hard being by yourself. I mean, look, you know what's really hot by the way? Kevin Hart. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Kevin Hart's like the guy in comedy.
Right.
What do you think of Kevin Hart?
Yeah, it's great. He worked his way up, has a lot of energy.
Do you see him having like an Eddie Murphy type career where, you know, he's going to be making movies for the next 4 or 5 years and then just kind of just, you know, on to the next black dude? I mean, that's what it is, right? Come on. That's what it is.
So you think Kevin Hart only has that success because he's the next black dude?
Yeah, I think he's super talented at what he does. I think he's a great actor. But
yeah, go ahead.
But I do think that there are certain cultural certain representatives in each ethnicity that Hollywood kind of promotes, and you're like the guy for a bit, you know. So like it's Kevin Hart and it was Chappelle. It was like Steve Harvey, you know, or like Indians, you know, it was Cal Penn. You know, like there's always like that one go-to guy. I don't know why Hollywood's like this, but that's how it is, and that's how it is here. So that's the game. But again, I think he's super talented and he's great at what he does.
Right. I mean, it's like I said, it's all about product. If the audience likes the product that they put out, they're going to try and put it out as much as they can to gain as much revenue as they can. And, you know, if something happens and they don't like it, then they'll stop supporting it. They'll put the product away and move on to something else. That works.
Is there an Indian comedian that do you think like carry that gauntlet, like carry that torch for South Asians?
Well, like you said, I mean, in the early 2000s, maybe it was still early for that time. I mean, I'm surprised actually when Harold and Kumar was actually a pretty big hit. They could have had like 3 more movies.
Yeah.
Instead, I think it took a long time to make the sequel, and Cal Penn didn't really, you know, headline any other movies, or maybe he was in supporting roles. I don't know, but he did move on to politics, so maybe that's a factor. But look at Priyanka Chopra now. I mean, I'm sure she's going to go on to do a lot of films and carry on that torch.
Yeah. I actually think there's an opening for Indians right now because I feel like after Cal Penn, like Aziz was the dude that everyone was like, oh, Aziz is super funny and he's good at what he does. And now because of the whole Me Too thing, Aziz has kind of faded away, and now there's just a void for someone to fill.
I'm sure he's working on other things. he was a supporting role in one movie, but I don't think he really wants to do movies. And maybe he knows that his strengths lie in TV and stand up.
So do you think there's a South Asian guy coming up right now?
Bobby Khan.
Me.
I mean,
no.
there will be. I mean, you've worked with a lot of good-looking Indian guys. I'm sure any of those guys, they just need a small chance, and Hollywood will make them a product.
As actors, yeah, I mean, there's a range of actors right now working, but I don't see any comedians that I can see who are like, oh my god, this guy's gonna be huge. I mean, I guess you could say Hassan Minaj, but he's more like a host talk show dude. But just in terms of like,
depends on what he wants to do. I mean, if he has the backing and he has the rising popularity, then they'll put him in a TV show.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then if he tests well, and if he, his appeal becomes bigger, then they'll put him in a movie.
What do you think of Chelsea Handler?
I was never really a big fan.
Because I feel like she's an example of someone who, again, just exploded on the scene, found a found a great platform for her voice, talk show. And then when the show's done, she had a Netflix thing and didn't really work out. And now it's kind of, I don't know what's next. I think she has a production deal so she can produce shows. So it's interesting to see these people just kind of come and then go, and then are they going to rebound from whatever the hell they did? It's just a tough town.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no telling. The comeback story could be a really good story, and I mean, you keep thinking of it as like fame is a factor. I mean, like these people might not be in the spotlight now, but they're obviously working on something. So, the next thing they do might become popular.
What about Letterman?
Yeah, he came back with a Netflix special.
Do you like the show? Like, how do you compare that?
I haven't watched the show.
I've only watched 2 episodes. It's okay. I mean, I think it's another example because he's clearly not trying to do the old Letterman show. Like, it's just different. And there's actually a YouTube video somebody broke down the way they shoot that show. Just like the close-ups and stuff, and they were like the way they shoot it makes it feel impersonal, while the old Letterman show felt like, just even though it was in front of a live audience and really studio setup, you felt like you were just in on the joke with Letterman. But this is just totally shot different, and I actually wonder like how it's doing. I know he has huge guests, but it's just it's way different than his past show. How come you don't watch it, by the way? Weren't you a Letterman fan?
I wasn't a huge fan, but I mean, I just haven't had time to watch it.
Well, then I'll pose this to you. How do you feel like Howard Stern has changed from when you first started listening to him? No, I know you're a huge Stern fan.
He's changed a lot, and people don't like it. His fans hate that he's changed. He's admitted his show started out basically him being angry and open and honest, which was totally new. And when he was successful with it, people started copying it, and it drove him to become more angry, more honest and open. And it was really anger that drove him to become what he became.
What was he angry about?
Just angry that he felt like he was an outsider to everybody. And when he came on Radio Success, people would try to duplicate his style, and he'd be like, "What the?" So like he would go to different markets and beat out the local people and be like, "Fuck you, fuck you," and he was very driven, just to be out of the place where he started. Uh, I mean, it's an amazing story. He was a guy who was told by his father, who was in radio, you'll never make it in radio. And then for years he toiled, and then until he hit his niche. But I mean, he's talking about therapy, and he realizes all that anger uh, was not necessary. But still, he still, when he interviews people, he still kind of says, "Oh, weren't you angry? Isn't that what drove you?" You know, it's still in there, but he's dealt with it now.
So here's a question: do you think Stern has changed because of his own internal, narrative, or is it because of he's trying to keep up with the Joneses next door? Is he doing it for the audience, or is he doing it for himself?
Because of his own personal journey, and a lot of people don't like it. A lot of the fans don't like it. They say, the more crude fans say, Howard's a pussy. He acts like a woman all the time. Where's the old Howard? I miss the old Howard. Howard, back in '95 was like the man, and like these people don't realize that Howard was all an act. He was on a show for these people, the radio listeners, and who he is now is who he truly is. Someone who's sensitive, someone who cares about women and animals, and being a little bit more nicer to people. It's not, he can still get angry, but he's just not the same as he was coming up.
Well, that's interesting because it's almost like I guess it could be a common theme, because at the end of the day, these comedians are still artists, and when they've done the same thing over X amount of years, maybe they're just like, well, I want to do something new. I want to evolve and be something new, as opposed to just trying to placate fans and trying to do what the masses think, which is probably what got them hot to begin with, because they were true to themselves and they were authentic, and that just resonated with audiences.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Can you think of a comic who's done like a 180 in his act and then became less popular, more popular?
Who became less popular?
Less popular or more popular?
Well, I mean, Carlin is the first guy I can think of, because Carlin, that story in the 70s, he was just a classic comedian with a tie and suit, and he felt stilted, so he just grew out his hair, like just started doing colleges, was just on PC for his time, for what he was doing was totally out there, and just changed his entire act and demeanor, and that's what really made him stand out. Him and Krusty the Clown are the two icons.
Did you say Krusty?
Yeah.
No, I mean, they actually did a show based off of that.
I know, remember that. That's why I was thinking that.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a great episode. Actually, I take back what I said about writers, about how writers can have more longevity. Actually, it's like the opposite. Writers have more ages than anybody. Like, once you hit 40, they think you're old and they don't hire you.
Mm-hmm.
It's only like the it's like superstar writers who can kind of have a lot of, I guess, longevity in the long run.
Well, it depends on if you're making things people like. If you're making things people like, why would you? Of course, you're going to have longevity.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of people get a lot of chances too. I feel just from reading the trades, I see the same guys get the same shows, and the shows get canceled, and but they've had huge hits in the past. So that track record speaks for something, because this is a deeper conversation. This is another topic, but I mean, for an executive to greenlight a show, there's got to be a reason to why greenlighting it. And if you say, well, this guy produced this show and it was a huge hit, that's going to, that's going to mitigate the risk of it. I remember reading somewhere that Larry Gelbart, who wrote MASH, couldn't get a job because people thought he was just too old. And he wrote MASH, and at the time it was like one of the biggest shows ever.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't get a job because people saw on his resume MASH. They were like, this guy's way too old. We can't see him writing. And Frasier, one of the greatest shows in my opinion, like their staff was like 50 plus. Like, they didn't care. They just wanted good writers in that show, and it showed. Those guys were like just savages.
Right. So, do you know some of those writers? Do they keep writing, or?
Mm. Well, David Angel died in 9/11, so.
Way to bring it back.
No, I really haven't tracked anybody else. I mean, Kelsey Grammer continues to work, but that guy's a genius. He's got this company called I think GrammarNet or something, and he just keeps producing shows. But I haven't seen anything honestly about he does some Broadway play. I mean, that whole cast was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go around maintaining longevity in the entertainment business.
Oh, here's an example. So my friend saw Sinbad recently, right?
Yeah.
Now Sinbad was the man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 80s, selling at theaters. I was like, how was he? He was like, he was genius. He was great on stage. Like, he almost won a standing ovation. Like, he's just as funny as he was back then. But he's nowhere near as popular. He's nowhere near as known because he doesn't have that exposure like he used to. But back in the day, it was like the rerunning. And then a lot of that has to do with just, there were only like 5 channels. So there's a comedy channel and he was on, or maybe he was like the hot black guy. I don't know. But I mean, he's still as funny as he was back then, but he's like a 60-something-year-old dude, so maybe the opportunities aren't there like they used to be. But I'm sure he does great. I'm not trying to diss Sinbad.
No, he's someone who's really funny, and you never know. I mean, there could be a role coming up for him that he's perfect for, and that that'll help people remember who he is.
What do you think of Louis Anderson? Because he just has a kind of resurgence with Baskets, for that Zach Galifianakis show.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because he was pretty hot when we were coming up. He had those cartoons and everything, Life with Louis. And then I know he was doing stand-up, but he wasn't on TV. And then, did he win an Emmy? I forget.
I think he might have, yeah.
I mean, it's just incredible when guys can come back and you're right. Just because we don't see them doesn't mean they're not working, but it's always nice to see someone kind of make resurface in their career again.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking it up?
What?
Are you looking up Louis Anderson?
Yeah. That's a ticket.
Jerking off. So tell me more about Louis Anderson.
He's
I heard he's gay, by the way.
I would have never have guessed. Look at Howie Mandel. He, he's huge in the 80s, 90s. Then you didn't hear about him for the 2000s. Then he was on the America's Got Talent, and he had a couple of shows and production. And
what was that show he was on? Was it Hill Street Blues? That was your doctor?
Yeah. No, he was.
Is that the show?
He was on.
That's the theme song. That's all I know. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
With Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
I forget. What is that show?
I'm looking it up.
Can you Google it? It's gonna drive me crazy. Me personally, I always evolve because I want to make sure that I'm true to my fans.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing this podcast because that's what the audience demands.
Saint Elsewhere. That's what it was.
Oh, Saint Elsewhere. That's right. That's great. Actually, sometimes I rewatch like the old shows. I think I rewatched Saint Elsewhere last year, and I was like, this wasn't as good as I thought it was.
You did, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I wrote that doctor drama too. That's why I was watching all these medical shows.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of Carrot Top?
Well, I think he makes a living.
Dude, I saw this guy in Vegas. He was unbelievable. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
No idea what people make. I guess he's not Punchline anymore, but for a while he was, and he was an amazing performer, dude. The guy just crushed it. And I mean, he really hasn't changed. He's a prop guy, and nor has he tried to change his style. Okay, here's an example, dude. Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
That dude, come on, man. He went from comedy to like just straight dramas to like everywhere. Or Robin Williams even.
Mm-hmm. Are you saying they lost their longevity, or?
No, I think it really has to do with the artist's soul, how it's malleable, it's always changing. Seriously, like people, I mean, they can't do the same shit over. Who the hell wants to do faces and, the same shtick every single time? It gets tiring after a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can just have all that money and girls and fame, and must get exhausting.
Speaking from someone who doesn't have money, girls.
No, I'm just saying. I think usually when people change, it's for the best, and they always make better work. I mean, you can see that with all artists, not just comedians, filmmakers, actors, writers. Like, you have to keep being authentic. You have a fidelity to your true essence, whatever that may mean to you.
I don't know what that means.
How about Ben Stiller? What do you think about him?
Yeah, he's a talented guy. He's been around.
Do you think he's changed? Do you think he's changed?
Yeah, I think.
How?
Yeah, he's definitely more of a filmmaker than a comedian.
Have you seen his work change?
Yeah, I mean, he's always dabbled in not just filming, but also the drama.
Yeah, I haven't seen, because you see a lot of more sillier things. Zoolander. How long ago was Dodgeball?
2005.
No, that's a good 12 years ago, 13 years ago. You know who almost made a resurgence was Carol Burnett. Read this? She had a show, and they changed something, and she backed out. She was like, "I don't want to do this show." I guess she has enough money. She was like, "Yeah, I don't want to do this." And I was like, "Oh my God!" Like, she would have had like her own like TV show every week, and she was like, "It's not that important to me."
Right.
So you're right. The artists, man, once you have that freedom to do whatever you want and money is not important to you, I think your work must get exponentially better because you're just tapped in. There's no. Oh, do you know what I was just listening to actually today, which is a great example? I was listening to Drew Carey on Mark Maron's podcast. How do you feel about Drew Carey, by the way?
Yeah, it's funny.
So he said after the Drew Carey show, he did a game show, but he had so much money he didn't care. He said he would just say no to projects, and he would only do things that were interesting to him or were fun to him, which is why he does The Price is Right. And it was interesting to hear because this is a guy who just did not give a shit about TV shows or offers, whatever. Like all the trappings that you would think are great for the normal person. Comedians, I guess, once you reach a certain point, you kind of just want to do what you want to do. So there's a certain freedom with.
Well, here's the topic for next podcast. Do you think it's get better over time, or do you think they only have a short life or shelf life when putting out their best work?
The comedians get better over time?
Does any artists?
Well, I think what I said before. I think artists change. I think they get better. They get better in the sense of who they are as a person. Like they tap in. Like everyone changes, just maturity level, and they continue to just express their human spirit wherever they are in that moment. Now, whether it's better or not, to the public, who the hell knows? But to them, that's where they are as people. Like they can't stop that. Sometimes it is better, sometimes it isn't.
The golden rule of any musician is that you'll never produce anything as good in your 50s as you did in your 40s. I mean, in your 20s. I mean, it's very, very rare, but all of your best work will come out of your youth. And you can say it about a lot of, I mean, look at Robert De Niro. He's not really putting out his best work. It was all in his youth.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the same argument with comedy.
I'm talking about artists, yeah.
But I still strongly believe, like, yes, to the public, is it their best work? Okay, but to the individual person, you know, they can only be true to themselves as people. So they're doing the best work for where they are in that moment of their lives. Does that make sense?
Right. But, I mean, let's just take out money as an equation, okay, or popularity.
Mm-hmm.
Just, is Adam Sandler better now, or is he better when he was 25 years ago?
I loved him 25 years ago.
Right.
But maybe there might be someone who might like him now, but me personally, I resonated with him when he's 25 years ago. When I see his movies on TV, I'll watch it because I have nostalgia for it.
Right, and that's
which brings everything back to Adam Sandler.
Mm-hmm. And there you go. So,
nice job, Sean. You were waiting for that opening.
This is the way I wanted to finish this stupid podcast.
Wait, we didn't talk about Stephen Hawking's.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he got better? Okay. Anyways, well, I think we learned nothing, to quote an Adam Sandler movie. We learned nothing from this, and we all got dumber.
I award you no points.
So please continue to write in. No. This is honestly. I learned a lot, honestly, because you know what I learned that most comedians and artists in general, like Stern, they change because they have to. They're like anybody else, and you know, life goes on, and you kind of go with the flow of things.
Stern changed because he wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, you change because you know, like a caterpillar or butterfly. You have to change. That's just part of the process.
Right. He changed as a person, which I think, like you said before, you definitely, I think, put the nail on the head where you said, you know, people change, and that's going to affect their work.
Right. So, change. That's the song we're going to play.
It changes.
As we exit out. All right. Well, guys, thanks for listening. Have a great day, and we'll be back soon with more episodes. Great. Good job, Sean.
Changes. Ooh, look out. You rock and roll.